everybody. Thank you for joining this mastermind. For those who do not know me, my name is Erkan Chima, your very own copywriter. And our today's topic is how Amazon's advanced SEO keyword search tactics actually work. So to know more about these strategies, we have added a really knowledgeable guest in our masterminds who's gonna handle this whole mastermind. And he's an Amazon seller and consultant for over 10 years now. So let's just start without wasting further time, and let's just invite Shannon Roddy on the stage. Hello, Shannon.
Hey, Akim. Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be here with everybody who's joining live or anybody who's watching the recording afterwards. So,
same here. So let's just start mastermind without wasting further time. The stage is all yours.
Sounds good. Let me go ahead and pull up my presentation.
Sure.
And let me know when that's shared and when you can see the screen.
Yeah, the screen is live now.
Wonderful. Okay, everyone. Well, again, like I said, my name is Shannon Roddy, and we'll get into that in a little more. But we're going to talk about some advanced SEO keyword research techniques and strategies. So these are proven strategies. I've been using these for years. There's ways to refine them and perfect them, but these are going to help you lower your cost per click, increase your organic ranking and product sales on Amazon. And that's something I know everybody is looking forward to do. So I'll do a quick introduction of myself. We're going to go over some keys to success on Amazon, talk about keyword research, validating keywords, determining the target terms that you really are trying to aggressively go after. We're going to get into analyzing search structure, which is really, really advanced. Most people are not doing that, but it provides probably some of the best value. And then combining keyword combinations, and then utilizing and leveraging advertising for SEO. So a little bit of background about myself. I've been selling on Amazon since 2010, and shortly thereafter became an Amazon consultant, working with brand owners to help them, launch, grow, and protect their brands on Amazon. And I've consulted with over 200 different brand owners, sellers, or companies in that time period. I founded Marketplace Seller Courses, and I created the Amazon Brand Success Academy, which is an online course to help brand owners grow and leverage their success on Amazon, and was recently acquired and hired full-time by Avenue 7 Media back in February of this year. Okay, so key to Amazon success. Now, everybody defines success a little differently. This is how I define success on Amazon. Because it is a search engine first, it's organically ranking for your product's top keywords. That is success, because if you can do that, the reason that's so important is because those top 3 organic search results typically, on average, get about 66% of organic clicks. So again, people are going to Amazon to do product research. And if your products show up in those top 3 organic spots, you are going to get an insane amount of organic traffic, relevant traffic going to your products. So there's 2 kind of primary strategies that people can employ for SEO. One is to rank for one really highly searched term, right? Like, I want to be number 1 for this specific term. Mm-hmm. The other way is to rank for hundreds of much lower search terms, which actually eventually over time will help you rank for that, one highly searched term, because of the sales velocity, because of the product reviews, and the organic ranking of all those other search terms. So they're not mutually exclusive, but we typically find that second strategy is much more effective and cost effective, specifically when you're going against some really big heavy hitters who have been playing the Amazon game for a long time. Okay, now the way I like to think of this is search terms are kind of like a highway of customers, right? You have all these customers coming down all these lanes, and your goal is to use SEO to get in front of your target audience, right? To put your product, to position your product or your listing in front of that oncoming traffic. And the way we do this is a term or sort of a strategy that I call the Amazon Trifecta, okay? And so that's discoverability plus buyability equals rankability. So discoverability has to do with those SEO keywords that are embedded in your listing, right? You got to do the research. We'll talk about exactly how to do that. And that's how customers can discover your products, but also how Amazon's inline search algorithm discovers what your product is and what it's relevant for. The second part is buyability, right? So that's having an optimized listing. You've got to have good copy, good photos, videos, A+ content, all that stuff, right? And discoverability plus buyability equals rankability, so that if a customer searches a specific product term, they find your product and they come across this well-optimized listing and go, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And they buy that product. Over time, your product is going to increase in organic rank based on the keywords that the customer searched. Okay. So this is kind of the high level process for organic ranking, right? Number one, we're going to research those SEO keywords. Okay. Two, we're going to integrate those keywords into the listings. And then three, we're going to advertise on those relevant keywords. So it's all about researching, integrate, and then advertising. So to get started, the first thing that I like to do is discover what the seed keywords are. Okay. And this is going to be different for every product. I've got typically an Excel spreadsheet with anywhere between 5, in some cases, 10 different columns. And you can label these whatever you want, whatever makes sense for your product, because again, they're all going to be different. So for example, this is for a women's deodorant. Okay. So the primary keyword is deodorant and location. Where do you use it? Underarm, but underarm is spelled in 2 different ways. Some customers search for that keyword together, some search for it separately. It can also be used for feet. Primary audience is for women, but we're also looking at ladies and girls, right? So we don't want to forget the synonyms for these keywords. So initially what I'm doing is I'm just coming up with in my mind all of the different things that I think customers might be searching, right? Because we don't know, right? We're just starting with the base of the product. So if you have a physical product, instead of ingredients, you might be focusing on materials, right? Instead of scents, it might be flavors. Maybe you've got a food product. Instead of benefits, it might be credibility enhancers. So all of these are interchangeable based on the product that you have. The important thing is that you make these lists and you start to generate those individual seed keywords. And we'll talk about combining those in a second. Okay, so we're starting with the seed keywords. Then what we're going to do is we're going to begin to put those together. So I'm looking for primary plus, audience, or primary plus location, right? So I'm starting to add these keywords together. And this is a screenshot from Keyword Wizard from SellZone, right? And so I'm pulling all these search terms and I'm looking at the search volume and I'm looking at all the different keywords that are included in these different keyword phrases that come back. Now, just because it comes back in a search result doesn't mean that it's relevant, right? There could be some other keywords or search terms associated with those seed keywords that are actually not relevant. And so what I want to do is I actually want to test every single search term, right? And the way I test that is I plug it back into Amazon. So I actually go back into Amazon.com and plug it into the search results or the search bar. And I typically like to do this in an incognito window. And I'm going to scroll past all of the advertised products, right? Because people can advertise on anything. There's lots of random advertising. So I don't want what's advertised. I want to look at the organically ranked products because I want to know what customers are thinking when they search that term. And if I get a bunch of products that are not related or relevant, then I know that that search term is probably not going to be a good term. Some people like to just sort of pump and dump, just get tons and tons of keywords and just go, well, these are what my competitors are ranking for, and this is what came up. So I'm just going to throw all these against the wall. I actually like to be very, very specific because going through and validating every single search term, even if it's hundreds or in some cases over 1,000, you're going to get better data and better results when it comes to advertising and organic ranking. Okay, so keyword relevance really has to do with what the customer has in mind when they search, right? So if I close my eyes and visualize, okay, the customer's typing in this term and they are hoping to find a product that fits the image in their mind when they enter that search. And that's what your goal is, to discover what are the search terms that customers are searching that match your product. So the next step is we're going to add relevant search terms to a keyword list. Now, if you've got tools, you can do it in a tool. I just like to use Excel, right? I like to just have my keyword or the search, sort of the search phrase, if you will, and the search volume. And I'm just starting to aggregate. So I'm not being super exclusive, except if I come across a term that I know is not relevant, right? I'm not going to include that. So all relevant terms, we're going to add to our keyword list. And then I'm going to say, okay, I've done the initial keyword research just based on the seed terms that I had thought of and saw what had search volume. Now I actually want to go and do reverse ASIN keyword discovery. Okay. So again, I know who my competitors are on Amazon, and I know some of the other products that are very, very similar. They share similar attributes. Maybe there's the same sort of product market fit. Maybe they're sort of in the same price range. But as long as it's relevant as a competitor, I can go and I can do sort of a reverse ASIN lookup and see what keywords my competitors' products are indexed for or ranking for, right? And that's so, so important. So now I'm going to be coming up with, oh, wow, I didn't know that, this was a term that people were looking for. I may also come across terms that are not relevant. So again, we're not trying to go after irrelevant terms right now. We're primarily looking for relevant terms. So what I'm going to get from all of that is, now that I've got my initial keywords, I'm discovering, as I do my reverse ASIN lookup, I'm discovering new keywords. And I go, okay, a lot of people are searching for best rated or best selling. Let me add that as another column on my spreadsheet. Or audience, right? I thought it was primarily for women and ladies and girls, but people are also searching for this deodorant for teens or kids. I knew that some of my ingredients were important, but it turns out that people are also searching for essential oils in deodorant. So I need to add that to my ingredients list. People are also searching for the type of deodorant. Is it a jar? Is it a cream? Is it a spray? These are so important, guys. I can't tell you how important this is. You don't want to skip this step. I know it's intensive and I know it's a lot of work, but it pays dividends. So, and again, benefits. People are searching for deodorant for sensitive skin or chemical free. Okay, I didn't know those initially, but now that I have them, I'm going to add them to my seed keyword list. And I'm going to repeat that process of going back in and now intentionally searching for deodorant for sensitive skin, right? Or chemical free deodorant, and seeing all the related search terms that comes up for that. Okay. You guys tracking with me so far? Okay.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to determine our target terms. Okay. And so what we're looking for is, these are the most highly searched relevant terms. Okay. There's terms that could be very highly searched, but if they're not relevant, they're not worth going after. And similarly, if they're very low volume but highly relevant, like, yeah, okay, that's important. But even if you dominate for those, it's not going to bring in a lot of sales. So you're looking for the mix of the most highly searched relevant terms. And this is where we talk about integrating, right? We're going to add those search phrases and keywords to as close to the beginning of the product title as possible, typically right after the brand name. So I like to do brand name, the most highly searched relevant keyword phrase. And then as you finish optimizing the rest of the title, you're going to sprinkle in those additional keywords, right, that people are searching for. You can also add some of these keywords throughout your product features. That's important, not necessarily for indexing, because Amazon only needs a search phrase or keyword to be in your listing once in order to index it, but also for customer confidence, right? Because if a customer lands on the detail page, they need to be able to see in the product features, hey, this is chemical free. Oh, good. Or this is for sensitive skin. Okay. I really needed to make sure that it had that. So that will also help with conversions, right? You can also add these search terms as image keywords in your A+ content. Amazon uses this a little bit internally for indexing, but it's also really valuable for Google, right? And so if people are searching for these keywords on Google, your product and your A+ content can actually organically rank on Google for those same search terms. So again, a lot of low-hanging fruit here, depending on your product category. Okay, so we're going to pause and do a key takeaway, okay? Optimize your listings for highly searched and relevant terms, but then we're going to advertise on all of them, okay? So we're not trying to integrate every single possible search term into our listing. We're focusing on the most highly searched relevant terms. And the second key takeaway is really, really critical, and we're going to break this down in a second. Just because a search term shows no search volume doesn't mean that no one is searching for it. Okay, so I'm going to break down how critical this is. I had initially had this mindset of, you know what, it doesn't make sense to advertise on a keyword that has no search volume, right? Nobody's searching for it. Why would I advertise on that? And I decided to test my theory, and I audited 3 of my top clients' accounts. Okay. And I took every single search term that customers were searching for, not just what I was advertising, but the actual search term. And I plugged those back into a keyword research tool to see what the estimated search volume was. And this is what I found. So search terms, sort of customer keyword phrase with zero known search volume had four things in common. One, they all had a lower cost per click than those that had search volume. And that makes sense, right? People do the keyword research and they go, this has search volume, I'm going to advertise on it. This one doesn't, so I'm not, right? So lower cost per click. Two, they converted way better than those with search volume. And part of it is you're going to get much fewer impressions from these terms because the search volume is just so low that the tools just can't pick it up. So again, it's not that they're not searched at all. It's just that it's so low. It may just be a handful for each term a month, but because they're long tail and they're very descriptive, those tend to convert really well. On average, guys, an ACoS of 30 to 60% lower than those with search volume. And these keywords generated 30% of all advertised product sales. I was blown away when I came across that statistic as I did my research. And again, this was validated across 3 separate clients' accounts, all in different categories and all at different stages. They all had the exact same attributes. Okay. For the next step, we're going to take all of our relevant search terms and we're going to sort by search volume, highest to lowest. Okay. This is the part that we get into the really advanced structure that I think most people are not doing. And what I'm looking for is patterns of search structure. So for example, the first search term that comes up is baking soda deodorant for women. Okay. And what I can determine from that is people are looking for the keyword. Maybe this is the benefit or the flavor or the scent, in this case, or the ingredient, plus the primary, plus the words for, plus the audience. So the audience is, again, women, ladies, girls, but also teens, and kids, those search terms that we came up with. The next one, women, aluminum-free deodorant. People search things in really random orders. And again, it seems maybe counterintuitive, but advertising on keywords in different order can actually be a huge benefit because, again, you're typically going to get a lower cost per click. And if it's more relevant and more accurate to what the customer's searching for, you're more likely to get that bid, to win that bid for that placement. So in the second one, it's audience plus keyword plus primary, so right? So it's kind of reversed. And then this last one, ladies deodorant, all natural, right? So we start with the audience, then the primary, and then the keyword, right? All natural. So what I do here is, again, you can do this in Excel. I use mergewords.com. It's just a free website. And all it allows you to do is it aggregates these different keywords. So then I say, okay, if I have all of these different attributes, whether it's the sense, whether it is the credibility enhancers, the features, the benefits, whatever it is, I can go and say, I know that people are searching for natural deodorant for women. I didn't find any search volume for non-toxic deodorant for women, but I did find ones for non-toxic deodorant. That tells me that somebody out there is going to search at some point non-toxic deodorant for women. Okay. And so what I'm doing is I'm combining all of these terms, and you literally just copy and paste from your columns in those search structures, and then you hit merge. And it's just going to give you this huge list of all of these different highly relevant search terms, but again, not necessarily highly searched, that you can then take and advertise. Okay, as we kind of break this last piece down, we're going to touch briefly on advertising strategy. Again, there's 1,000 different ways to advertise, but one of the key things that I like to remember is, make sure you advertise on all match types. I like to do modified broad match. Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar, modified broad match means you add a plus symbol in front of each of the individual keywords that you want to ensure that your customers are searching in order for your broad match ad to show up for that search term. Amazon gets a little broad, right, with their broad match. And so sometimes if you look at your target terms versus a customer search query, you go, yeah, Amazon's using synonyms. They're using some of the keywords, but not all of them. Modified broad match means the customer actually has to have searched each of those individual keywords. I usually don't do modified broad match for some of the conjunctions like and or for or anything else. But if I'm doing aluminum-free deodorant for women, I want to put a plus sign in front of aluminum and in front of free and in front of, deodorant and women, right? You can also advertise on those in phrase and exact match, because again, the more match types that you can advertise on, the more placement opportunities you have. And if somebody's not bidding on a specific match type and a specific keyword in a specific phrase, you have a greater chance of getting that placement at a lower cost per click. A couple other sort of general advertising strategy notes. Like to do one product per ad group. Now, there's some exceptions for this. It depends on the category. It depends on the product. Sometimes it depends on if they're under parentage or variation. But usually one product per ad group allows you to get the best data, and also one ad group per campaign. And we just do that because if you've got multiple ad groups in a campaign, you can't tell Amazon, hey, spend more money of my campaign budget in this ad group and less in this one, right? You just have no control. So we take away Amazon's control and we say, here's the product I want you to advertise for these keywords, and put 100% of the campaign budget to this ad group. Lastly, you can separate the campaigns by what makes the most sense, but often a combination of search volume and match type. So maybe some of your higher search volume keywords you want to put together, because those are going to require a different level of budget. And then some of your lower search volume keywords in a different campaign, so they're not competing with the high search volume keywords in terms of budget. Okay, use advertising data and insight. So we've done all of our initial research, we've done our relevance, our validating, but there's always going to be more keywords to target, which is why we recommend running auto campaigns, right? And even if it's a low bid for those, or sort of a capped budget, you can still discover new search terms that customers are using. Go, oh, I didn't think about that, right? So we're going to discover new converting SEO terms. There's also times we can discover irrelevant keywords from our listing. I thought this keyword was super relevant, but in all of our advertising, it is not panning out. It is not converting. We actually want to remove that from our listing, right? Maybe it's just too generic, or it could apply to other products, whatever. In some cases, it may just mean we need to do a listing reoptimization, right? So we know the search term is relevant, but when customers are hitting that detail page, they just don't have the vote of confidence to buy it. So we may need to work on optimizing our copy, our product features, our images, and our titles. Okay, key takeaway: SEO keyword research, in my opinion, is the most valuable ROI generating investment that you can make. There's nothing else that you do for your Amazon account that has the ability for long-term payout like SEO keyword research. Because again, it plays into every aspect of organic ranking as well as advertising for your product. And doing the keyword research that other customers are not willing, or other sellers are not willing to do, gives you a huge competitive advantage. And all it requires is access to a good keyword research tool and your time. So again, I think that pretty much wraps up the majority of the presentation. I know we're going to have some time for questions. Just to give you a little background about Avenue 7 Media, the company that I work for now. We are your partner in profitable growth on Amazon. And we've got a broad team, just a great team of experienced Amazon operators. We've got proven processes. We've got technology, and on average, provide 100% growth for our partners. And if you're interested in learning more, you can visit us at avenue7media.com. But I think that finishes it for the main presentation. I'm really excited to dive into the questions. That's probably my favorite part. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here, and we can get into some of the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Shannon, for that amazing information. So I have a couple of questions. So
Wonderful.
let's just start with the first one. So during the presentation, you discussed that you use incognito mode to check the relevancy of your keywords. So what's the reason behind it?
Because Amazon, if I'm logged into my Amazon account, for example, Amazon knows my shopping history. So they're going to probably put different products in those organic ranking based on my previous search and purchase history. And I don't want my past history as an Amazon customer to influence my research for product relevance and keywords. So just open an incognito browser in Chrome, typically open up Amazon and do that search result. And that's going to give me sort of the most unbiased results in terms of product relevance for the keywords that I'm vetting and validating.
Right. That's logical. So the other question is, what to do in case if you are like launching a new product, you have done your R&D and you are introducing a new product. So how you are gonna like find its keywords, how you are going to evaluate the relevancy of it, because it's something new in the market. There are no direct intents. For example, you are using like a foot mask, so it's like it's an intended. But if you are introducing a new product, what are you gonna do about it? How you are gonna conduct its research, its keywords, and all that stuff?
So there's probably two parts to that. And maybe for clarification, are we talking about an innovative product that doesn't really have a lot of SEO keywords around it?
Yeah.
Is that sort of the
Yeah.
gist of the question? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So we work with a lot of innovators, and I love innovators, by the
Hmm.
way. It's my favorite topic, innovation. Um, yeah, it's probably one of the most challenging things, right? So when you have an innovative product that doesn't have SEO,
Hmm.
the challenge is, how do I get in front of those customers, because they don't know exists. They don't know what
Yeah.
the product is around, so they're not searching for it. The the advice that I have is, there are some keywords that you can put into the listing around what that product is or does. But in terms of driving traffic and launching that product, it's social media and video. That's what you have to do.
Hmm.
Amazon now has
Okay.
Amazon Live, which you can use. Amazon has Amazon social posts. But for the most part, we're looking at
Hmm.
using some of those other more established social media channels, Instagrams, TikToks, Facebooks, etc. And
Hmm.
your goal is to get in front of a relevant audience. So, for example, I've got a client that I've worked with who has a great potty training kit called Tot on the Pot.
Yeah.
And the challenge is, most people don't know. They're looking for potty training supplies or potty training books, but they don't know that this whole amazing kit or system, exists. So what we're looking to get in front of is potty training moms or potty training parents, potty training dads. And there are
Hmm.
tons of Facebook groups about that. And there's tons of ways that you can do audience-based advertising off of Amazon to
Hmm.
get some initial traffic, and then drive that to Amazon, right? Once you start getting product reviews and sales, you're going to organically convert for any search terms that are relevant, that are the
Hmm.
product is listed or indexed for. But video tends to be the best way to promote an innovative product. Images are just too hard to really convey the
Hmm.
concept. And so, honestly, like a 30-second video that's really well
Hmm.
crafted, that immediately shows what the product is, what it does, why it's better, the
Hmm.
benefits of it. People go, oh my God, I have to have that. Advertising and putting that out on social, specifically with using influencers, right? Because if an influencer
Hmm.
already has a captive audience for that
Yeah.
product, they just don't know it exists. That's the best way to do it. Um,
All right.
let me,
So,
Arkham, let me mention one more thing that might be helpful. I
hmm.
tend to think of SEO and
Hmm.
product demand in terms of three levels. So
Okay.
the first is known demand. And that's
Oh yeah.
where we do the keyword research and we go, people are looking for this kind of deodorant, right?
Hmm.
That's known demand. Potential demand is, like we talked about, that sort of potty training example. People are
Yeah.
looking for a potty training book. Maybe they're looking for potty training reward charts, activity charts. They're looking for potty training supplies. Maybe even they're looking for a potty training seat, right?
Yeah.
That's potential demand, because
Hmm.
we know they're at the potty training stage. They are the right audience, and they probably need our product, even though they don't know it yet. So that's potential demand.
Yeah.
So in some cases, you can get creative, even with video advertising on Amazon, of saying, hey, I've got this amazing product. I know you're looking for something else, but the
Hmm.
potential demand is, the customer is looking for a result, even if they were looking for it in a different way. So I'll give you another
Hmm.
example. Is that had a client who sells an Epsom salt gel, right? Or Epsom
All
salt
right.
lotion. Maybe they were looking for a muscle pain cream or a muscle pain spray. They didn't
Hmm.
even know that a gel or a cream existed. So
Hmm.
it still solves the customer's problem, even though it's not exactly what they were looking for. So I call that potential demand. The last one is exactly what we just talked about, which is unknown demand. I've got an amazing
Hmm.
product. Nobody knows it exists. So there's no known demand. But
Hmm.
if they see that product, they're going to go, oh my gosh, didn't know it existed. Now that I know it
Yeah.
existed, I want it. So there's known demand, potential demand, and unknown demand.
All right. So it's like Cold audience, warm audience, and hot audience, right?
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
It's
and I look at, in terms of
mhm,
sort of the landscape, we're going after branded terms. If you've got some generic search volume going for your brand, or specific brand search going for your brand awareness, that's a
mhm,
great place to start. Start with that low hanging fruit.
mhm,
Advertise your branded terms. Okay. Tons of people disagree with that. That's my take on it.
mhm.
Advertise on your branded terms,
Okay.
low cost per click, high conversion. Then you
All
go
right.
after generic terms. And only after you completely dominate the generic landscape do you go after competitor terms, right? Because competitor terms, higher cost per click, lower conversion. There are cases that are exempt from that. There are cases where the competitor has such a crappy product, you just know I can win this one every single time. But a lot of the successes that we see, and we see this right now, we've got a potential client coming on board, or a client coming on board. They've done such a great job building up their social media, their TikTok, their Facebook. People are searching for their product all over Amazon, even though it's not there yet. That's a great way to launch an innovative product, because once we get it up and live, they've already got traffic coming to it. And you can see that just by going into Amazon, going to the search bar, starting to type the brand name or the product name,
Mhm,
and it autofills. We see all the index terms that customers have already been searching. So that's kind of the take on launching innovative products.
So I normally seen this like strategy on Shark Tank. People like introduce their product on Shark Tank, and once the episode is out, their product is all over Amazon. So it's like
Totally.
one of the strategies to start it. So I have really like good question here. So the question is, what kind of tactics should we implement to get sales with 0.02 bid or the lowest bid?
That's a good question. If you're asking what kind of if you're only willing to spend that, it does handicap you a little bit. Yeah, there is, and Ritu Java from PPC Ninja taught me this. It's called gold panning, right? So you
Okay.
advertise on some cases single keywords, or very, very short phrases in broad phrase, typically in broader phrase match at an extremely low bid, because you're just gold panning. You're doing exactly that. Um, that can definitely be part of a strategy. It probably should never be your entire strategy. If your entire ad strategy is 2%, and I don't think that was the question, but if your entire ad strategy is 2% bids, it's probably not going to be very effective unless literally nobody else is advertising it. But to you can use low bids for keyword discovery, sort of that gold panning, or if you have keywords that will eventually convert but aren't typically profitable at a higher cost per click. It just depends on your budget. So some people say, look, if it's not relevant, we're just pausing that keyword. If it's not converted at all, we just pause, pause, pause. Other people
Yeah.
say, you know what, I've got money to spend, and I can keep decreasing my bid to know, even if this converts only once out of every, you know, 30 clicks, I can be profitable at this bid. So that's kind of how I think about bid management. And I'm not a PPC expert, but it does play into SEO. So
Okay. So this strategy can be applied on the keywords you were talking about, like that has no search volume. I guess this strategy is perfect for that low chunk,
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess so.
the cost per click is going to be typically lower, but it doesn't mean that you
Mhm.
have to bid low. You
Okay.
can you can bid sort of higher mid range. In some cases,
Mhm.
typically when you go to add it to Amazon advertising, you say, give me your recommended, let me just go with the recommended bids
Yeah.
to start. Amazon says, okay, these 50 keywords, no recommended bid. Great. Start a little bit below, maybe 30% below what the
Okay.
other known, bids are for some of those known search volume keywords. You can also bid the same, knowing that because so few people are bidding on them, just because you
Mhm.
bid at 75 cents or a dollar or 250, if nobody else is bidding on it, you still may only get it for 20 cents or 30 cents. So
Yeah.
your bid does not equal your cost per click. And just because it's low search volume, you're typically not going to blow through budget just because the search volume and impressions is so low. But that doesn't mean you have to bid super low. I would say bid a little higher, like I said,
Mhm.
about the same or a little bit lower than your other known sort of average bid. Um, and then once you start to get data, you can adjust. If you realize you're overbidding by $2 or $3, yeah, you probably want to
Mhm.
bring it down a little bit so it's a little closer to what customers are sort of searching and what other sellers are bidding on.
All right. So there's another question. Does naming the images in your listing with relevant search terms before uploading them help with SEO ranking as it does
No,
with Shopify?
I don't think
No.
so. No.
So even
In 9 years, I've never seen that. Only A plus. A plus content
yeah,
does.
I
Not
agree to
what
that.
you necessarily name the file. I don't think Amazon
Hmm.
does that because they typically rename them. And
Hmm.
I used to be a web developer, so you can go in the back end of code
Yeah,
of take an Amazon listing detail page and look at the image and the high resolution stuff. Amazon renames all that stuff, so it doesn't
yeah.
matter what you do.
Hmm.
And you don't have to opt. Some people think like you need to save it, at an optimized level so it loads faster. You don't upload at the
No.
highest resolution that you want, typically 1500 by 1500. Amazon's going to optimize it for load time, but no, I've never seen naming the product images helping with SEO. Only the A plus content.
Hmm.
As you upload the A plus content graphics, Amazon will ask you what keyword goes here.
Hmm. So I guess it basically works when it comes to Google. So you can rank your images on Google Images, right? So all right, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and this is part of the aspect of Amazon being a search platform, right? So
Hmm.
much percent, I think it's 65% right now of searches start on Amazon. But
Hmm.
what's crazy, and a lot of people don't realize, and Jason Boyce, the founder and CEO of Avenue 7 Media, we talk about this a lot. Um,
Okay.
is that even if it starts on Google or Bing or Yahoo or some of these other platforms, look at the
Hmm.
top search results, guys. It's Amazon. Amazon
And
has such strong domain authority that
hmm.
people have the ability to get their products ranked on Bing or Yahoo and still get traffic, to Amazon. So even though Amazon,
Hmm.
65% of product searches start on Amazon, there's probably 85% that start off Amazon that eventually end up on Amazon. So it's a lot, but yeah, that's mainly about being indexed off Amazon. And one other kind of tip I'll throw in there, because I used to do website design and Google SEO. Amazon, you really only need a search phrase in there one time to be indexed for. Okay. Once
Hmm.
it's in there one time, Amazon's going to index. And adding it 3 or 4 times keyword stuffing is not going to help you index anymore. Right. It doesn't help you rank any higher. Only
Hmm.
conversions from those search terms, that go through that product are going to increase the rank. Google's a little different. Google does look at, how many keywords are used. So if you're going to use a search phrase in your title and in your product feature and in your product description
Description.
and in your A plus content, that's not going to help you much on Amazon, but it can help your product rank on Google, if that makes sense. Because
Okay.
Google
Okay.
does like that reinforcement of search terms.
Yeah.
Amazon's just looking at the conversion, right? Did a customer search this term, buy this product? It's relevant. Let's organically rank it.
Yeah. So the next question is best advertising strategy in saturated category like kitchen where new sellers are coming every other day.
Ask Ritu Java. It's a good question. Again, the focus, we talked a little bit about advertising because it plays into the
Yeah.
SEO cycle and discovery. The main focus, certainly in my background expertise, is in SEO
It's
keyword
SEO.
research.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, Ritu Java is my go-to Q&A person for those kind of
Okay.
advertising questions.
Okay. So I've like a question. How often do you re-optimize your listings? Because I've seen in the presentation there are like many keywords, many phrases. We cannot add all of them at the same time. So how often are you changing them, and on what based on what metrics?
Great question. It, to some extent, it depends on sales velocity, right? So if you have a very
Okay.
low sales velocity ASIN,
Hmm.
you may wait a little longer. If you've got one that's selling very quickly at a very high clip, you might want to do it in a
Hmm.
shorter time period. I'd say on average, we're
Hmm.
looking to do listing reoptimization about 6 months out. And so
Hmm.
um, the flywheel that I look at for brand owners and sellers on Amazon is you optimize, you launch, and you analyze. So you optimize the detail page to the best of your ability. You launch by driving targeted traffic to that listing, and then you analyze the results. So about 6 months usually gives you enough time to see everything from, at least for the primary image, we're looking at the click-through rate is probably the best indicator. And we're getting a lot of that data from advertising. The unit session percentage through the business reports, and then also the conversion rate for those keywords, whether it's the ROAS, or the ACoS, for specific search terms. There's not a simple thing of like, you just do this one thing. You have to be holistic about it. So when we're looking at listing reoptimization, we are looking at sort of the technical aspects of the keywords for sure. And again, a lot of it is pulling apart the advertising reports. And I actually had a macro built to show me not just search phrases, but individual keyword. How did every single individual keyword convert based on cost per click and sales for every search term that it was included in? And that gave me some really significant data, because otherwise, sometimes you're only looking at a search phrase as a whole, and you won't notice these individual keywords that show up in all these different search terms unless you actually extrapolate them and pull them out. So for advertising and SEO, I like to look at those kind of metrics. How do individual keywords convert for the advertising for a product? But when I'm looking at reoptimization as a whole, we're also looking at the product reviews, right? We're looking at customer returns. We're looking at customer questions that get posted on the detail page, buyer seller message feedback. We're looking at all those things and go, are there things about the product the customer's not understanding? Are they having the same issues? Is it a manufacturer defect? Is it a problem with shipping? So all those kind of play into listing reoptimization. But typically for SEO, if you are able to break it down, you can see very clearly that there's usually a handful of keywords that are driving a majority of your sales, and a handful of keywords that your listing is indexed for that are resulting in wasted ad spend. And to give you an example, I worked with a client, and the person that they'd hired to do Amazon had kind of thrown a bunch of junk in the search terms in the back end. And because we were running tons of auto campaigns, it was really messing us up. They were throwing in totally unrelated search terms in the auto campaign and the search terms in the back end. Amazon was using those terms to run auto campaigns. And all we did was go in and clean up those search terms, and the auto campaign efficacy just took off. So it's an aspect of saying, you know what, I wasn't really targeting this keyword, but we started advertising on it and it's converting really well. It's not on our listing, or it's not prominent in our listing. We put it at the back end of the title. It should actually be at the front of the title. So it's not a simple answer, but you have to look at it holistically. And I don't like going in and making changes to your listing every week. I think that's a terrible idea. Amazon has to reindex it. But every 6 months, you take a look at it, see what's working, what's not working, what do customers like, what do they not like, what do they understand, what do they don't understand, and you re-opt based on that. And you may get to a point where you go, the listing's optimized, and then it's just a matter of driving more traffic. It's as good as it can be. The images are great. The A+ content is great. Let's just drive more traffic.
All right. So are you using any sort of a tool or automatic Excel sheet to reorganize all that data to have a complete bird eye view? Is it something, are you using something like that?
I just have an Excel spreadsheet. So it's just Excel.
Okay.
And I have a couple sort of macros or formulas that I built, so that, for example, if I've got my 1,000 search terms, I've got 3 columns next to that, and I can say, okay, let's put in aluminum and women and deodorant. And then I can filter by all of the search terms that have those 3 keywords in them. And I can see those, and I can sort by search volume. I also can, sort by, obviously, by the search volume, or I can say, hey, just sort by if it has this keyword or doesn't have this keyword. And yeah, I mean, Excel can do a lot if you know the basics of using it. They also have some great filter functions, so you can use filters to say, tell me all the search terms that have this or that. It doesn't always copy out of there well, but a couple of macros and a couple simple formulas is all I use to manage sort of the SEO keyword research that I do.
Right. So I have a controversial question now. So I'm seeing some big names saying that bullets are just for keywords. there is no such thing as copywriting or persuasion or anything like that. You just need to put a lot of keywords in the bullets, and that's it. What's your take on it?
Yeah, that's bunk. I mean, it's just not true. The product features make they make a huge difference for conversion. But it's not just for conversion, it's for setting the customer expectation.
Yeah,
My goal
that's the
is
point.
not just to drive conversion. I can promise things all day and night in the product features. It's going to do this and it's going to be amazing. And what you do is you get a lot of great sales and then a ton of negative reviews and a ton of returns.
Yeah,
So
that's the
we
point.
ha- we have found that the product features not only make a difference in the conversion rate, but the
Hmm.
order of the product features makes a difference. Amazon is the most analytical and detailed platform out there. So minor adjustments, sometimes it's updating one product image. We had a
Hmm.
situation where customers were complaining that the product was too small, smaller than they expected.
Yeah.
So we made the second image literally a hand holding the product. And immediately overnight, those negative product reviews and returns dropped off, right? So because we were able to address it properly. So yeah, it's not just for keyword stuffing, because there's this tension that you have to manage. It's an art and a science. Your goal is
Yeah.
not just to get people to the page and see a bunch of fluff and a bunch of, keywords that, don't make sense together, sort of a jumble. You actually have to get them to buy the product. And that's where we go back to discoverability plus buyability equals rankability. So you've got to know your
Yeah.
customer. You've got to write with the tone, the language that they use in mind. You've got to answer their questions before they ask them. And
Mhm.
what we say, this is a Rick Cesare quote. I think he stole it from somebody else. I'll steal it from him. But, you know,
Okay.
features tell and benefits sell. So we never
Yeah,
just
that's
mention the
fine.
feature and here's all the technical specifications and all the things it does. We also, in
Hmm.
every single bullet, want to mention here's a benefit and how it's going to make your life better. And
Yep.
that 100% impacts your conversion rate. I would rather be indexed for fewer keywords and convert well for them than be indexed for
Hmm.
hundreds of keywords and not convert for any of them. So it's discoverability plus buyability. You gotta focus on both.
All right. So I have a question like best strategy for lifting the D rank product having more than 1,000 reviews, which has a good sales history in the past. The major reason of like getting to D rank is a lot of competition in the market.
Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like at some point it had really great sales velocity. And let's
Yeah.
just be honest. Let me open up the conversation a little bit. There's a lot of manipulative stuff that goes on in Amazon, right? So
Yeah.
people are doing things to manipulate the algorithm. Amazon's very clear about what's allowed, what's not allowed. I am
Hmm.
100% a proponent of abiding by Amazon terms of service, right? So
Hmm.
I won't even work with a client that hints or intimates
Shady
that
stuff.
we should do something outside of TOS. But that
Hmm.
has made it specifically in certain categories, even if you've
Hmm.
got, historically a great product, when other people are basically bypassing Amazon's TOS to rank their product higher. It can be a real challenge. What I usually say is look for other creative ways to get traffic to your listing. And so again, Amazon is a place where people want to buy the product, but that doesn't mean you
Yeah.
can't advertise on social. Amazon has attribution
TikTok.
links, so you can get the brand referral bonus. You can use Amazon attribution links. You can create custom source tags in your Amazon storefront that will
Yeah.
allow that incoming traffic. That you could track exactly how many clicks and how much revenue it came through your Amazon storefront.
Yeah.
So as the advertising piece increases, and it's only going to continue, right? So 5 years ago, Amazon advertising was hardly a thing. Now it's getting
Yeah.
to a point where, the bids are increasing by double digits every single year, and the competition is increasing, and Amazon is putting more and more ad space on search results to the point where, it's going to be like half, 50% of everything that you see on the search results page is advertising. You got brand
Yeah.
ads, you got sponsored products, you've got video ads, you've got other recommendations. It's like it's all advertising. So that's going to continue to increase. In order to stand out, you may want to have some
Hmm.
diversified traffic strategies. So there's again, look, there's Facebook groups, there's
Hmm.
social media that you can use to drive that targeted traffic to your listing. And to be able to be successful, my prediction is that micro influencers and social media and video are going to be the future, because advertising is going to be so expensive. It's going to be hard for a lot of
Yeah.
brands to play. You still have to do it, but the ability to get in front of a relevant audience with a product and use an affiliate, relationship with that influencer is probably going to be the best way to sort of go head to head with some of these companies without just trying to outspend them.
I guess Amazon is also making it easy for the sellers to promote their products like on social media, because lately I've seen a new beta like feature, like you can share your listing directly on social media platforms. I'm not sure if you have seen that feature or not. You can
Yeah, I
share it on
posted that
Facebook.
yesterday on LinkedIn
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you can
yeah. Oh,
actually share.
actually, you shared it. Yeah. So
No, but you
if
can.
you,
They're trying to get more social, and whether it's
yeah.
Amazon Live or sharing images and stuff, they're trying to become more
Mhm,
social in that regard. But you're
mhm.
absolutely right. It is a way to engage customers off Amazon to drive them to Amazon for sure.
All right. So I have one last question by Swanshai. Do you bulk stuff keywords in the description for a product with approved A plus content just for maximum indexation? Because lately I've seen people are doing it. What first they upload their description, and after some days they upload their EBC. So the description is hiding behind the EBC, and they're stuffing their description with all of the keywords. So do you recommend that point, or just trying to be safe?
So again, we have to differentiate between being indexed for a keyword and ranking for a keyword.
Yeah.
You can stuff keywords in the description all you want. I still think it's better to have a description that if a customer reads it, it makes sense. In some cases, we've seen where, historically Amazon would use a JavaScript overlay to overlay A plus
Mhm.
content over the description. Sometimes they show
Yeah.
both. Sometimes it's A plus content, and you scroll down and then there's a description.
Yes. Yes.
I'm still a fan of it being algorithm and human friendly. You have to write for both. Um, but the key is whether it's your title or your product features or your descriptions or your search terms in the backend, keyword stuffing only gets you so far. It only gets you to the point of potentially being indexed for those keywords.
Yeah.
Um, but beyond that, it has to convert. So usually there's enough room in the titles and the product features and the descriptions and the search terms to put in the main relevant keywords that you need,
Mhm.
to convert, and then focus on the conversion side. I just haven't seen that be effective of let's just stuff a ton of keywords in the section that we think nobody's looking at, to try to
Yeah.
game the algorithm, because again, all that means is that it's indexed for those keywords potentially. But if they're not relevant, right? It's not like, going back, 6 or 7 years for Google hacks, throwing a bunch of
Mhm.
keywords on a website. If people go to that website and go, this isn't what I was looking for, and they bounce back, Google's
Mhm.
not going to rank that website for those keywords. So it's got to be
Of course.
relevant to include it. And you focus on indexing and then ranking.
I guess this is the main reason people are like normally saying my organic stability is weak. It keeps on fluctuating, because the main reason is you don't have like that good of a conversions. Because if you are not good at generating conversions, it's Amazon or Google, they're not going to rank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess that's the main thing.
It's got to be the whole
So
thing. You got to do the whole thing. The listing optimization,
yes,
and titles are the most critical. They're the most heavily weighted search fields on
yeah,
Amazon. And it's an art and a science to write that by doing all of Amazon's style guides and their policies and best practices into a title that's readable for customers in the Amazon algorithm. It's the most difficult part once you do the SEO keyword research. But um, yeah, you've got to do everything well. That's the difference with Amazon. Some things it's like you could just do some things well. With Amazon, you got to do everything well.
yeah. So I guess this is it, Shannon. So let's just wrap it up. Thank you so much for being a part of this mastermind. Hopefully, we will conduct another one soon. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for having me. And again, you guys can check us out at avenue7media.com. And Jason's going to be releasing a new podcast called Day 2 Podcast, talking about Amazon, some of these and other topics. So feel free to check that
Mhm.
out as well. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you so much. Bye bye.